Well,
Late, did you say?
I don't know, but if she is, we'll just make the
we'll
note
see what
that
happens.
she's late.
He could be forced to put it
We
in.
don't do a thing where
She comes in, but that's why I know this year. just-
Yeah. it's fine,
I
yeah.
met a lady out in Souk, I think. And he's been living with her. Very good.
Are we on? Okay, thank you. Actually getting this, but I'd like to call to order the committee of the whole meeting, Tuesday, March 12th, 2024, 5 p.m. It's held and transmitted electronically via council chambers located at 39 South Road, Fountain, BC. We acknowledge with respect and gratitude the Subatsit peoples who share these lands where we live, work, and recreate together in harmony. Are there any late items to be introduced? Mayor McGowan.
Just under a notice of motion, Madam Chair, if I may, I'd like to have a future discussion on the subdivision bylaw and the options for attainable housing within the approval process. We can put that in a future agenda, please.
Subdivision bylaw, I'll just put this, right? And we'll get it found on.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yes.
It's under new business, sound communication.
New business B, town communication. I have a motion to accept the agenda with the additions, Councillor Romanta, Councillor Finsky, all in favor? And carried. Public input on any item on the agenda, and now, anybody speaking on this has 3 minutes and has to keep one talking. Is anybody? Yes, Mr. Garrett.
My name is Bill Garrett and I'm at 220 Lake Park Road. I have 2 matters that I'd like to speak to. First off, the recycling cans recently have been started to be distributed. Appreciate that. Many people within the community use the old style garbage cans, as do I. And we're wondering at this point in time, is there going to be some kind of a collection point to get rid of the old cans? And if so, I'd like to know about it. The other item that I have refers to the business plan for the CLEC. In my banking history, a business plan would always include where you've been, where you're going, how you're going to get there, and a clear financial plan without any skips and jumps. What I'm seeing here is same old, same old. We're going to continue doing what we did. I don't see any kind of business financial plan at all here. And I'm kind of wondering what happens if the government grants ever get denied. That place is going to go belly up overnight. So when it comes up on the agenda, I hope that could be replied to.
Yes, just note that the financial plan is actually under general fund. And
Yeah, but a financial plan is also part of the business plan,
yes.
and it's not included here. Thank you.
Thanks for your input. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Minutes of the previous committee of the whole, we ratified it at our regular meeting. Are there any comments on the last committee of the whole or any business that I think have been done? Okay, perfect, thank you. No delegations or representations. Correspondence, none. And we go down to finance, administration, and strategic plan. Mrs. Gill.
Thank you. So the statements are included here. Work on year end hasn't been finalized yet, so the 2023 numbers are still subject to change. And the 2024 budget numbers are, as presented, are preliminary. We should set up some meetings with council to go over those budgets. Wanted to note that the reservation system for Lakeview Park opened up on March the 4th. They went very well this year. Few problems, so that was nice. I've attached a homeowner grant. It shows the history for grant claims since 2008 to date. Just information for council. And then lastly, we have the grant aid budget, which is part of the budget discussions. So if council wants to deal with them now, they could. I've outlined the applications that were received and it is up for council consideration.
Any questions for Mrs. Gill? Councilor Sandhu.
My apologies for being late. Just a question on scholarships. When was the last time there was an increase to
that budget?
yeah,
I think we used to give 500 and then it was increased to 1,000.
One. Yeah, it used to be 500 each, and then it was combined, and we just give it up.
So no increase.
okay, since we haven't started budget discussions, I'd like to not have these discussions tonight, if that's possible.
Yeah, I'm going to visit you in the public with that. We can talk about these things during our budget discussions. Is that okay?
Should we talk about what
These things on the back page.
Well, just the amount, just the amount, yeah.
Okay, anything else under fire? Yes, that's okay.
I have one more question. So is there a bylaw for the deadline for the grant applications?
It's just on the website,
But has it
there's no
always
bylaw,
been, it's always been
a policy.
a policy? Can that be amended if, like, I kind of find like we're only in March, so and that's 2022 budget, so.
Yeah, you can change it. You probably don't want to change it to April. Because budget has to be approved by,
I don't mean the amount, I actually mean the time of the
Yeah,
deadline
yeah.
for applying.
but you still want that date to be before you approve the budget.
Okay.
No, the amount and the date, because you don't want to. You mean you want it?
I just wondered if it cannot be open like for the entire calendar year.
Yeah.
So as soon as the money's used up, it's.
Yeah, okay, no,
That's just, that was my question,
I didn't,
okay,
misunderstood.
but we can discuss that.
Thank you. Anything else? Like a variable.
Three, if I may, there was a number of capital projects from last year that were not completed. Would that funds be rolled over into the general reserve, or would they be reallocated to those particular capital projects? So I'm wondering about some that are in transition from approval last year to not being completed this year. Would they move forward with more consideration in the budget process, or if they're already in the stream?
Well,
I think the whole thing is being considered, because they were, when last year we considered them, they were coming up different funding that we were provided by the province. So they're just moving over, they did last year.
But a follow-up, if I may, so the ones that were budgeted for, requisitioned for, and have not been approved, need to go through that process again?
is there another possibility?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the superintendent on the parks. So on the parks, there's a vandalism budget of $5,000. And so in 2022, we used $151 of actual, in 2023 of $1,287. So my question is that the washroom budget is $20,000. And I'm wondering where the vandalism of the washrooms in town, do they go under the vandalism expenditures, or they coming out of the parks washroom budget?
Most of the washrooms have been coming out of the washroom budgets. And we're gonna be looking at that, I'm gonna try to, any vandalism, we're gonna put in the vandalism budget, so then mayor and council and all of us can see how much vandalism we're getting and what it's costing the community for that.
Yeah, because I'd like to see what's actual public works staff, normal maintenance, and how much vandalism. Okay, thank you.
It's through to Public Works again. I just see on the budget, I'm sure we can chat about it during budget discussions, but the ditches and culverts, one, we went 67 grand over their budget last year. Was there a problem property? I see we'll spend a bit already on it. Is there a problem property on ditches and culverts that we're running into?
I can answer that. There was some capital budgets that were done, but it's on property that isn't owned by the town. So at the end of the year, it was showing as drainage for, or the culvert for the marina park. Was expensed and moved over into the operations budget. So
So to follow up, so
It was
we're happy with the projections for this year.
we should be okay with the
We'll
project.
decrease it.
Yeah, that should be.
Yep, and one more question, so $400,000 planned for the Mildred Child property?
The park,
For
for the park,
Yeah, the parking lot, that's what it's gonna cost. is-
and the trail, we're gonna build the trail here with trees and stuff. So it's a package.
Yeah, I just want to know what the plans were that were gonna be in that 400,000. I think
It may be a lot less, but that's the max.
that's the budget. Thank you.
Is there something there about
Just to follow up to my previous question, so I'm looking at the budget in public works, for instance, of the public works office building upgrade, which we approved last year, working funds through the budget process, requisitioned for it, and now we're seeing that additional amount coming forward, $500,000.
It's coming from last, but we had allocated the funding, the revenues from last year, that's being moved over.
So just to be clear, some are being moved over that are not, haven't been started.
That's
Okay. Thanks for clarifying. Appreciate it.
anything else? No? Okay, thank you. The next one is the Lake Elgin Building Inspector's report, just for your information. Does anyone have any questions on that? No, nothing, no, note, as they say. Lake Elgin Fire Department. Incident report for February 2024, 7,138.53. Do I have a mover to accept that? What's wrong?
No, that's what it says.
Oh, I thought you said no. Counselor Frisbee? And seconded by Counselor Simpson. What happened? All in favor? Thank you. Moving right along, the next one is the collect business plan. Mr. Smith, would you like to speak to that?
Well, first I'd like to address Mr. Garrett's comments.
Do you want to come up to the front so we can hear you, or it's hard here?
First of all, I'd like to address Mr. Garrett's comments and as a former banker. Couple of things. First of all, as far as grants are concerned, you probably are aware that the center and Lincoln Park are self-funded, basically. So revenue generated from the park and from the education center, I repeated this many times over the years, but it's very clear that we don't depend on grants to subsidize wages or operating. The only reason we rely on grants as a community is to get things funded, for example, sewers and buildings, infrastructure, new roofs for the education center, Lakeview Park development, so we can get better revenue, waterfront walkways, etc. So those are grants we depend on. So that's what we're doing there. And the second thing is in the financial plan that I submitted, it's clear that the financial part of that is with our budgets as we proceed year to year. It's not same old, same old. It's just a matter of what we're trying to do better and always trying to improve things. So that's all I can address at this point. I'm sure there's a question.
Could I just ask, when was the last job creation project that we had?
Prior to COVID, and we had job creation program, one of the last ones was the float that we put at Saywell Park to be able to have people enjoy that area, to be able to go kayaking and swimming and kayaking. That was the last one that we did. And then we ran into some labor problems that were sort of preventing us from applying for some of those grants. And then COVID came along. So, and now that that's happened, it's hard to get a job creation program, for example. That's just a small part because their unemployment rate is so low. When there's job creation programs, the government provides funds federally or provincially, pardon my back. And that allows communities to do things. And that's why those grants are there. If we didn't have grants in Lake Cowichan or any small community in British Columbia, the infrastructure would not be there.
So that means that until the government is gonna fund job creation, you can't apply for it.
No, that's not correct. I won't apply for job creation programs because I know that there's not worthwhile trying to get, because we won't get enough people. And our area is an area that has full employment theoretically. So we wouldn't get the people that we would for major projects. But if I can add to that, one of the things, if you read through the business plan, you'll very clearly see in one of the lines, which you have to go on the third page, I think. And you'll see that we've been negotiating for many years now, prior to COVID, with a group that wants to do a long-term contract with us, and we're gonna do it. And we'll have papers and presentations coming up in the next few months. Probably by end of May, I would imagine. They will also add their strengths to apply for other kinds of grants that will be very supportive. And they have expertise, and we have expertise, and we're going to combine that as a partnership. Very exciting things. I mean, they're even gonna, and in fact, they will probably submit money of their own in addition to what we would normally do to do a percentage. So in a $500,000 grant for a walkway that we're waiting for right now, for example, the town will have to put in $50,000 as has been budgeted. But they may want to put $50,000 in too, more of a chance for us to get a grant. So we're working on some things that really will push the center and Lakeview Park into positive areas, I think.
And a little further down, we're gonna talk about a department tour of Clark and Lakeview, and at that time, once we've done that tour, we can have a candid discussion on what our thoughts are within a future business plan in Clark and Lakeview, taking into consideration that there's some other entities within the region that have been interested in those properties as well. But as it resides currently within the purview of the town's operations, I think it behooves us to do what we can to improve what we have as, it's a jewel of the West Cowichan area. Rustic, but an accommodation that's afforded to those groups that rely on that. When we do the tour, we can have a look and see what we feel could be inputted for that business plan. We have some excellent ideas at this table that could be incorporated. We've discussed them throughout the years on my time within this table, and some have been implemented. So I'm looking forward to doing the tour and then having a candid conversation and bringing that back to this table for future discussion and endorsement. Whether that's approved or not is up to the table in that. So I think the business plan transpires as the business community and the business rationale changes within. I'm of the vintage to remember 1981, when there was double-digit inflation, there was double-digit mortgage rates. Lawyers were lined up in the courthouses to represent banks on foreclosures. The Bank of Montreal would be Mondays, Bank of TD would be Tuesdays. And at that time, each level of government was trying to spend their way out of a recession. We're not there yet, but we're seeing some of the similar nuances of spending with senior levels of government that could perhaps bring us into that D word. We were very close in 2008 to a crash, similarly. Senior levels of government, all levels of government tried to spend their way out of that. And we're paying for that generation. So I think we have to be smart as we move forward on a business plan, that we accommodate what capacity we have within the operation. Thank you.
Can I respond to that? You brought something up that's very important, actually. You mentioned there's other interests always in those lands, of course. By doing what the center is doing, if you take a look at the business plan and the guidelines and that have been set over the years, through the education center, we will strive is a very important word, and some of you were at the table when this was done. Now, 95% of our groups that come to the center are not-for-profit. Groups and organizations that come from all around British Columbia and sometimes different parts of the world that are related. The more that we continue doing this, the more chance we will have as our community, for this community to hang on to those, to the center and Lakeview Park as part of the town lake option. If the plans that I'm working on right now is a 5-year plan for this one particular organization that's going to work with us in a very strong manner. And once you prove that you can do that, and we're creating economy still, and we're self-funded basically, then it allows us to go for bigger, perhaps bigger grants even, that will make bigger improvements. But if we don't do that, those lands will be a housing development. There's no question, a housing development. And do we need another housing development in a situation in the lake, for this lake or this river, when we already have big challenges to get around? I don't think so. And I think I'm not alone in saying that. And I'm sure that if I mobilize an audience, they would agree that keeping our river clean and our lake clean is the most important. If we add too many more houses to it, on septic tanks or hurt our sewer system, it's not going to work. I am working and have been always on behalf of council to ensure that those lands stay in the hands of this town. And if you do anything else with it, it'll easily go to the housing development. And that's my caution.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm obviously not privy to some of the developments you got going on at the click, and I think maybe holding off on this business plan would have been the right move if we, there's other things in the works. And I just want to tell you that we do want to keep this thing within our hands, and we don't. I personally don't want to see it changing there. But I guess my feedback on this, well, my question on this business plan I asked Madam McGonigal is that if you look at this 3-page business plan, then you look further on in the agenda to the 51-page marketing plan, the spirit of it, are you happy with what's included in the depth this business plan goes into?
I would say that there is some gaps within both of them. And perhaps we can deal with that in the future. I do hope that we can deliberate on the spirit when that comes forward in the agenda and how that could impact not only this area, but as well. So piggybacking on that plan on how to implement certain aspects within that for tourism operations and that sort of enticement within the business plan and it's going to be a living document. The CLEC is a living entity that will transpire as the need arises. And I think it's important that we have a look at it in a 360-degree view per se, as to how it was granted, the history of the operations, and it's a complex property for sure, with the designation of crown land, etc. But yes, the spirit loop is a definite aspect of tourism attraction. This is a little bit of a different operation than the spirit in my opinion, but there is aspects of it that could be collaborative between.
So just to follow up, I was meaning more the depth of the plans. So what you're seeing in the agenda, nothing about the spirit loop or its benefits to us, but more the actual plan you're seeing in the agenda as a 51-page document with measurables, there's finances, and there's how many people are reacting to it, and there's something that we can actually look at and make a decision. But the problem is that we're not really seeing an outlay of measurables as far as, we're not even seeing marketing. So that's something that obviously I've been critical of Dalton for with marketing and things like that. Again, I'm not privy to what the next plans are, and maybe we should have withheld this one until we've seen what's happening. But I think this, and it's going to come up later, with that communication. It's just the professionalism around what we're actually putting out there compared to what we're seeing in other places.
And in all fairness, if I may, Madam Chair, we do get financial updates monthly within the financial reports. We can follow along in that. That's not the business plan, but that shows at least where we're going from the aspect of previous plan. If it needs tweaking, that's our job with the help of our managers.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't agree with comparing them together because they're not this, as Mayor McGowan said, they're not the same concept of what they offer. This, to me, this business plan is a starting point with the budget we're gonna be talking about in 2024 and further on, and the tour we're gonna have and whatnot, so we can come back at the table and have a discussion. And so each of us, we may have, see it in a different way, so we bring these things to the table and then we collaborate. So I look forward to the tour, I look forward to more information, future information with this business plan.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Good discussion. We're moving on to the Strong Start program. I just want to mention that that was a program that was at the elementary school. And it was canceled in December. But Councillor Sanders, did you want to say what we've done so far to help?
So we met with Jessica 2 weeks ago. She's the, what did you call her? Champion. And she was starting a letter campaign. So we gave her our letters that we had sent, and then she now has forwarded to myself and Councillor Austin well, it's just a letter that she's gonna send to people that signed up in that email when we had the public meeting last week. And then she's gonna go further out with that, into the communities, this letter campaign. And what we're hoping to do is have hard copies and have a meeting with the Minister of Education at our ABICC in April in Victoria.
And the letter that she'll be sending out is, it'll be on a computer and you can sign it and send it back, everything. And we're hoping to get a good pile of them for the April 12th or whatever we can meet with someone. If not, we will take it to the legislature and put it in there anyway. Yes.
So further to that, have we set up a requested a meeting with the ministry?
I don't believe, I haven't been apprised of that. Has that been?
No, the letters have gone out.
Letter.
Yeah, the letters went out, but they have not returned the response.
And I think
We need
if I may, just, UBCM is more the minister meeting process, but as we are contiguous to the legislature within the ABICC, it doesn't need to be a formalized meeting request per se. We can, go through our MLA to assist us in getting that meeting with the Minister of Education to process what we have transpired from this group. There was a number of signatures at our public meeting, and I hope that people will at least follow through with their intent of piggybacking on that. But if it is a request of ABICC, we can certainly put that forward. That perhaps we could have an informal meeting, because they're not scheduled meetings as they are in the UCM, but everyone will be there.
So we need a letter of some sort to that effect? Is that not correct then?
If we could just request staff approach ABICC on the possibility of a meeting with the Minister of Education on the Strong Start program.
Okay, that's a direction staff.
And check it.
Direct,
Direction staff.
if everyone is okay.
Thank you. Okay, budget deliberations. I guess we have to look at dates. So what dates are we?
First of all, Mr. Fernandez, can you give us a timeline on when the budget has to be finalized?
May 15th.
May 15th. You have a couple of months.
But that's the final reading. So
Yes. We have
You have
to
to have it
by
approved
law.
in the end of April.
So we're looking at least starting here in the next couple of weeks, an initial process. I know that staff have senior management team has vetted their budget requests, capital requests, and I would appreciate the possibility of council input moving forward on some stuff that we have discussed in the past, and moving forward, how that would impact the budget process. So currently, we're looking at a possible 4% increase prior to anything that council initializes. If we are looking at implementing some of the Bear Smart requests, for instance, that would be a significant increase in taxation, but that discussion is for us to have. I think it's important that we not only rely on the senior management team's input, but that we have an input within our budget process as well. There may be some small incremental things that we wish to do. For instance, the open garbage cans, we've had a discussion on how we can try to implement some safety measures within that for wildlife, not getting into those. We're looking at some possibilities there within the operational budget. So other aspects of that, let's set a time, bring your jewelry list per se. I think it's important that we show that we're trying to improve the community for the whole community and not just specific and groups. So if we can do, I will get in my calendar. So you can clear yours. Sure. Preliminarily. And we look at a Thursday, the 21st of March. That work for you, Councilor Bradley? And we do a afternoon start around 2 or 2:30. Councilor Malacca, you can swing that. So we'll start there and then we'll have the presentation of senior management team's budget at that time. We'll probably work through the water and the sewer and the capital projects within both of those. And then we can set a date after that on how far we get. Go away this weekend, if you will, and just think of some of the things that you would like to see implemented. We all made campaign promises and we ran. Now that we're elected, I think we have to deliver some.
I didn't make it drop.
I promised to do what I could within the means that we have.
That's the only one.
So we'll start with March 21st, 2:30.
2:30.
Oh, 2:30 or 2?
Okay,
Think it even.
that way
Make something that morning.
we can do it within the working hours of our staff and try to accommodate that. So 2 p.m. and then we'll go from there. Does that work? Yeah, great. Absolutely.
Can we get any documentation
We'll have that.
ahead of time? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget. Okay, we're moving on to Parks, Recreation, Culture, Community Garden request to expand garden area. Mr. Sandu.
So we've spoken with them, the original area they wanted, we did not, grant that, but they can go eastbound further. Joseph and I have talked about that, and that's fine, we're just gonna do some paperwork on that. Just, there's an agreement in place when we extend that area. We want to put a greenhouse in, so they would have to get a way of building from it, down every density. I spoke with them on the weekend, they're supposed to bring me a drawing of the area they want, so. Don't see any issue with that. Please look at forward to that.
Is there any questions? Okay, thank you. Spirit Loop participation in marketing plan. Did we have, yes, Mr. Fernandez?
Let me get started. What happened is council directed me to approach, the Malahat Nation to see where they were with the Spirit Loop project and indicate, and, you know, so that we can decide if we want to be part of it. Council needs to know that we did try this approach a number of years ago and we decided not to get involved. So based on their direction, I approached Josh Andy Slides with the CAO of the Malahat Nation. I did that on February 23rd, 2023. We had a very good conversation. He also told me that he's had discussions with Councilor Frisbee and Bob Day on their interest on the loop. Josh also indicated that he had tried to talk to Aaron, but Aaron Hamilton, that is, who was not really interested in the project. The superintendent and I met with Aaron on February 28th, him and Melanie Livingstone, where I raised the topic of the Spirit Loop. Aaron saw no point in being part of that group. I have to say that I concur with those sentiments. Being part of the Spirit Loop will give us no benefit unless we need to serve the interests of others. That's my take on it, but if council thinks they've got money to spend on being part of our organization, that's up to you.
That's what I'm saying.
What was the cost? Like, I have not seen.
It's just basically based on, I think, population of whole works and what you want to pay. We do not deal with that around.
Yes,
Could I just give clarification on why you don't think it's worthwhile? And obviously I wasn't on council when we first didn't want to participate in it. What's the
Well,
reason behind it?
Well, the same reason that Mr. Hamilton saw no reason. We already, we're ways off in terms of being involved with the Spirit Loop, and it's not going to give us added benefit. That's, and it just means being part of another organization so that you can attend more meetings. And what is the end result of it?
I'm of another view. I think whatever you can do to entice people within your local area accommodates possibilities for future opportunities. I know that some within the loop are seeing an increase in stays and money spent. I've done a lot of research on this. I would like to see at least a few further discussion on the rationale of being involved or not, and having a financial breakdown of some of the entities that have participated from its inception to current. I think you can get some good numbers on how it has enticed or enhanced the possible visitation and stay of visitation, etc. We have morphed into a tourism destination, whether we like it or not. We're not a forestry-based town anymore, and I think any tool that we can use to accommodate off-season visitation would help. So I would at least like to see a further discussion, whether it's inviting one of the directors or proprietors of this Spirit Loop for discussion with us. That would at least appease me in some of the questions that I have.
Yeah, just the driving force behind this is somebody from the district of Langford and city of Langford. So they're more involved with it than I'll have mentioned.
yes. That's a very good.
The Kinsey Knight from Tourism Couch has approached the Spirit Loop about getting businesses in Lake Couch featured on the Spirit Loop, with Couch Tourism putting the bill financially to have us featured, because I don't know, I've shared the video of the Spirit Loop promotion with you guys as far as while we're entering some of the businesses that have been featured on that. It's obviously it skips over Lake Couch. It's like we don't exist. So, businesses have raised that issue with Tourism Couch, and Tourism Couch are trying to get Lake Couch featured on the Spirit Loop, and are willing to foot the bill. Sorry, just to follow up, like any promotion whatsoever of our team is obviously a positive. To say that we don't want to be involved is tone deaf to business. I think any promotion, I think you ask any business in town, the amount of people we see coming through from the Spirit Loop is increasing every year. But again, there's business and then there's other ones.
Well, piggyback if I may, Madam Chair, perhaps the invitation should be to, Couch and tourism Couch, or that representative to come and speak to us on that. So perhaps an invitation to the gentleman that you mentioned. Present a future committee meeting.
So they do that.
Wednesday night.
Thank you.
I hope so.
Pardon?
No,
Okay, so we do another direction to staff to connect with.
Like that. Sure.
but just for that, like she's, Ken's not directly associated with Spirit Loop. But she's working on behalf of, businesses that are working in tourism culture. I don't think she would actually, add any value to our discussion. I think it's with the take on it, with the CAO's take on this, I think it's probably better the individual businesses working with Ken's not being featured on it, and whatever spin off it is to the town, it's fine.
And they pay their own fee.
Tourism culture.
Councillor Sanders?
I don't think it would be a waste of time, for the tourism couch to come up and just answer these questions for us. I think we've got questions that our staff can't answer because they don't have the full information on this, so. I would like to see an information meeting with maybe a representative from, the organization and then tourism couch. And I'd like to make that a motion.
We have a second. Mayor McGowan, any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor? That's where I did vote. Yes. Okay, any votes? No, I didn't see your votes. I didn't. Okay, thank you. Okay. Is that it? Non-river safe, it's hard to say, non-river safe sunscreen ban. And who is going to speak to that, Mr. Frisbee? No? You're not. Is there any further update on the non-river sunscreen ban?
Staff, well, maybe superintendent might have something.
I don't have any further information on it other than what was presented in that meeting, and I wasn't at the meeting, Jill was. They were trying to, from what I'm gathering, they were trying to ban certain sunscreens in town, but
Yeah.
You know, go to the stores and say you can't sell it. That's, I didn't know where that's going.
I'm wondering if you could have signs at the entrances to the river and lake that say no sunscreens that are not acceptable or whatever. I mean, would that even, I know signage is weird, and I don't think you can tell businesses what to do, but maybe that's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
to maybe take up at the chamber to see if they would discuss it with their chamber members to see if there's something else they could do, yes.
Well, I took the time, I think it was like 2 hours to really read this report. And so what they're talking about also is year 4, that they're planning to do an outreach awareness education program. So would that be summer of 2024? This week? I think that is a good start. And then once they bring a report forward after this summer, I think then we can really look at the overall picture. There's going to be a lot of things playing into not just this, but the weir replacement, the sewer lagoon. It's all being tied provincially and federally as we speak. And I think if we took a stand too early with not enough information and that we react, that it's gonna hit us in the face. So I'd rather see this year 4 outreach awareness education program happen in our community. And then when the report comes in, then we can review it with
Is that the Howard and Lake and River Stewardship folks that are doing, no? Let's see.
their part,
They're part of it.
Yeah.
Anything else on that, Councillor Frisbee?
You just to repeat myself from last meeting, so at the workshop that I attended, the BC Conservation Foundation wanted action from the town of Lake Calhoun as far as a bylaw getting rid of the river safe, non-river safe sunscreen. So that was their call for action to the town of Lake Calhoun, which we had employed as a representative. So what I brought to the last meeting was that we wanted to direct staff to go and talk to stores to see if they would voluntarily not carry the sunscreen that were doing harm to our business, to our river. So that's after the study, after all the studies, this is just an outreach one doing that. But that was direction to staff that they're going to reach out to businesses to see if they're voluntarily do that. So that is what I was looking for a follow-up on this, but it sounds like nothing's coming back, so. Yeah.
I believe the direction at the last meeting was just to bring it to this meeting, committee of the whole meeting for discussion. There was no direction for staff. No, I believe it was just, and it was my direction when we were talking about it, was that we bring it to this meeting and for further discussion.
Is it something that our staff would be sent to different businesses to do that? I mean, is that proper for us to do that, to send our staff to do that? I don't know. Mayor Longo, do you have any?
I would rather see us piggyback with, the province on the rationale of banning not only that, but phosphorus soaps, for instance. Anything that has an impact on the Heritage River. A local bylaw, for instance, is only as compliant as those who wish to follow it. And we see that everywhere. But just to do an outreach education program to the businesses that do provide that would be a possible starting. Education and communication is paramount on the aspects of what that product does. We saw the perfect storm this year with low flows, with high temperatures, and the resulting fish kill that has decimated future seal headlands, for instance. So anything that we can mitigate the quality and the pristineness of one of only 44 heritage rivers in Canada, I think we are implied to do that. So if it means going and asking those businesses, I don't see a problem with that. The implementation of a bylaw to ban any product that's available either online, etc. I don't see work. But even the education process to encourage them to sell river safe sunscreen, it's starting. So I would look for that to move forward while we look at other options, as you say, as the weir is being replaced and the sewer treatment plant, how we can mitigate some of those problems within the lower parts of the county. But I would certainly like to see at least an education, communication process. How that is implemented is entirely.
A letter to every business in town that sells that stuff. I don't know. Did you have something?
I was just gonna say the part of the awareness was about educating people that are at our beaches and water is how long when do you put on your lotion before you go in the water? So it's things like that if it's 5 or 10 minutes, it's not going in your skin, it's going in the water. So it's things like that. So I think this would be a good way to, as you said, do an outreach with the businesses and.
So who would do that outreach? Councillor Frisbee?
But just to follow up on, just with the staff member, that just so it's not just me with my agenda here, the staff member that was at that meeting, was there a report brought back to you on what the Conservation Foundation did call from Lake Kelvin?
There was a brief report, yeah.
And did,
I haven't spent a lot of time on it because you know what, I really don't have the time. I got my hands full with sewer and stuff and that, and I don't have time to deal with sunscreen, honestly.
sorry if I mean, it's not so much putting it on you, it's just the report to come back to us, because if I wasn't at that meeting, then a town rep there would want to hear from it, and I understand everyone wants to tread on it lightly, but what? And I realize that you can still get if we put a bylaw in place, and you have to do it properly, you want the businesses to be voluntarily on board, and I realize you can still get it on Amazon, get it delivered. It's more just, indicating that we're trying to look after our river. And then the hope was that it would spread to the CBRD and then it would spread to Vancouver Island, because obviously a lot of sunscreen is coming from other places, but it's disappointing for me to hear the reaction to this table, because I feel like we could take a stand, and it is clear to me because I was getting that information firsthand, but that's just my take.
No, I think we should take a stand. I just don't know what the actual way to go is. Councilor Bomaka.
I would agree with Councilor Frisbee, it's the approach we take. I don't like the idea of the business person being banned and said, I can't sell this in my store. I think a better way to do that is through education, have businesses in Lake Cowichan on board and ask them, show them the facts from the information you have to say, this is what it is. We'd like it if you made it harder for people to buy these products and you bring in River Savior sunscreen. Also, the information, if they can have it in a pamphlet form. So as Councillor Sandu said, you can give that information to members of the public to be able to say, this is the harm that you're doing to our heritage river, and see if you can get voluntary compliance. And then we may be the first community that all businesses do get on board and willingly remove it.
So would that be something the chamber would be able to bring up at their next meeting? Because they are the people that have most of the businesses on.
And I think
You remember,
that
did you
be
get that?
place that it should be, but if the table wishes me to, I could speak to the chamber and ask if they would be willing.
Mr. Smith had a comment?
If I could just make a comment, that I know I'm not probably supposed to speak on this, but, around the world, people have banned sunscreens, no question about that. And this table here goes to UBCM all the time. Really, it's not just a Lake Cowichan problem. This is a provincial problem, it's a Canadian problem. I mean, in Australia, in the Caribbean, in the Emirates, places that I've visited, you walk towards the beach and there's a sign that says that you can't use sunscreens. And what happens in this town is that it's not only the sunscreens that are sold from this area, it's sunscreens that come from places where people are coming to enjoy our community from. So it's not big enough to just do something here. I would suggest that maybe you may want to look at something like UBCM. It's a big topic.
Yeah, there's a little bit we could do it, it's not too late to do it. Yeah, it's just the way it is. Well, what's the pleasure of the table? I would like to see something done, and I don't know, it's not maybe up to me to do anything, but.
But if I may, I do agree that at least a statement by this table would be a start. If that is the starting point, that we did try last year with some sunscreen dispensers that were not there very long, unfortunately, but I think we had tried at least to do baby steps. If it's encouraging those who visit our area to recreate, to utilize River Safe sunscreen, that is at least the starting point. We can make that statement here today or at council, whatever you wish, in a statement. One person moves it, one seconds it, we have discussion and go forward from there. At least we have a starting point. And bring back that report that goes through that committee and see how we can move further. We'll look at some of those areas that have banned some streets, for instance, that are not river safe or water safe, and how that was implemented, and the power within that bylaw locally to move it forward to either entity, UCM, FCM, or whatever other agency that we're represented by, to get a larger portion of representation. But a statement to that fact that we encourage those visiting our areas to utilize river safe sunscreens if needed.
Are you making that motion?
I will do that statement right here.
Do we need it to follow through as a resolution?
We can
Or
move
just
forward on
statement?
that UCM resolution possibility or future discussion.
Okay, because I thought you had to do ABICC first and then go to UCM, because you do sometimes. Yeah. Okay. Is that,
Just a statement that we encourage those visiting the Lake Houghton area to use river safe or water safe sunscreens during their recreation.
does it say that on the labels? I looked at mine and I've got a special ones. Did not see that. Okay, well, we're gonna have to figure that one out too, right? And check it out. Good. That's good for now, thank you. Public Works Environmental Services Bear Swamp Program.
I can speak to that. As a result of the public meeting, the issue of Port Hardy being a fairly good community to follow, it was raised, and so I ended up talking to Councilor Dennis Durgas from Port Hardy, who was a former mayor on Thursday. I had a fairly good discussion with him. I asked him what he was doing right for the district of Port Hardy. And what they're doing is all the public garbage disposal sites, they're basically blocked. And I said, what about residents? He said, residences, we don't touch. It's up, each individual is responsible for taking care of his or her garbage. They're required to not put out the garbage the night before. And that's where the saving grace. And the community has seen a decline in barricades because of just following those two steps. And I think there's that notion of giving everybody lots to lock it down may be a good thing, but not how to do it. They have made it the responsibility of the homeowner to do that.
I think our Bear Swamp group that started, they're working really well with WildSafe and with ECO. And I think they're gonna do a good job, and I'm hoping they will get a bit of funding at some point from somewhere. They're going to form a society and do some stuff.
So yes, question to the superintendent, did you give in any of those lockable garbage can for safe locks?
For public ones, yes. I think they installed a couple late last week, lids at Sayville Park, the lockable ones, but
No, for residential homeowners to purchase.
none of them.
You haven't brought any yet.
Do they have any?
They do have them, but then we would have to go to a larger can, the minimum size is 120. It's a stronger can, it's one you can get bare, those lids on, very resistant. But the ones we have, they don't have, I had one built from a fabrication company in Downton. Didn't really work very well. It's a big molecule. And there's costs to it all.
Yeah.
You know, what are we willing to spend on this stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe Mr. Fernandez, his comments were, it's up to the homeowner to deal with it. Don't put them out, don't say it.
Education. It's just that mine are in a carport that's kind of open, but I have sprayed them with ammonia and stuff like that.
We would have to put a bigger cans, that means we change everybody's cans, then we'll get iron fees.
And thanks for the new totes, you can put at least 1 or 2 bodies in there, and they're really big. I'm telling you, they're huge. And then welcome to your husband. Oh, never mind, sorry. Anything else with Bear Smart?
Because you know about Bear Smart, Smart has you brought up the recycle totes. What happens if a homeowner finds that the 1 can is not sufficient? Because they're super recyclers.
I'd like to say they should move in the garbage dump with the rest, but they can request another can at a fee. They won't be free like these ones. There'll be a fee.
Okay.
We haven't determined what that.
And somebody came in and asked me today, are businesses also getting those same totes? And I said, I'd assume so, because the truck needs to lift totes.
We're gonna get all the residential done first,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna concentrate on the commercial. They will be getting them. Some of them may be a little bit larger, because we have some larger ones from the past, so we're gonna work on that next week.
Yes, you're on.
I personally am not sure what the capacity of those are, because I haven't got mine yet, but I'm glad that some council members have already got theirs. And it just brings back memories of the public meeting when I was left here alone, and everyone else sitting. Seriously, but on the Bear Smart portion, I think it's important that we take care of our public receptacles and lead by example on not bear proof, because you need an encased steel encampment to be bear proof, but at least bear resistant portions for our public facilities. And I know we're working on that, but that can be an additional discussion at budget time, whether we want to implement further improvements as we go through, perhaps not this year, but how we can increment the environmental ones, for instance. I think they're problematic. They serve their time for what their purpose was, but I think they have outgrown that use, and it's time to look at the implementation of something similar to Whistler, where we where the Bear Smart communities are implementing that sort of receptacle. So, just my comment on the Bear Smart program. I hope we can implement some of those improvements within our.
And are we getting a dead bear, a fed bear is a dead bear signs at all? For the town? I heard we were, but I might have to buy one myself.
I heard there was a request.
Yes, I took a picture of Whistler and I don't think they have a copyright on it. I just think one at the beginning of town at least, but also one in Central Park, one at Sewell Park, and one at the Marine. On 6, well, I said at least one, and then one the other block. Well, no, the parks, because that's where people throw stuff.
Council approving some budget for this.
Yes, put it in the budget, please. I'll look up the price. Okay, I think we beat that one. Yeah. Couch and watershed.
No, that's not on.
Sorry. I didn't think so. So why is it on my agenda? It's on my agenda. Okay, moving right along. New business, tour of the municipal facilities, Black and Lakeview. Mr. Smith, do you have dates or anything for us? When no one is there.
My preference is, it would be nice to have the season going, so you're coming to a real clean campsite, reading some activity, seeing new walking completed. Even the education center, come when groups in, and I'll let the group know that there's gonna be, visitors, and you can talk to them, so for example, one of our international groups. And so that is, so I'm saying actually June. I thought maybe end of May or something, but June would be better. I know the washrooms would be completed by then too. So that'd be.
June, and you'll figure out a date then.
Yeah, I'll give you lots of dates for June.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Okay, is that all right with everybody? It'd be nice to talk to people there to see how they're enjoying themselves. Is that okay with everyone? And B is town communication, Mr. Frisbee?
Yeah, I think in a nutshell, I'd like to see the town communicate a lot more on. Firstly, our meetings, then our what the town is achieving, what we're doing, even as simply as the recycling, putting the new bins out, and expect those. But I think more broadly, I know that we're not meant, as a council, we're not meant to govern on social media. But I think we're getting pretty close to governing from social media, in terms of the misinformation that's out there. But I guess from social media is what I mean is that a lot of the topics or complaints that we're seeing on Facebook are ending up on this table, being commented at this table. But I think a lot of the need for that is because there's so much misinformation out there, because we're not controlling the narrative. And what I mean by that is, to control the narrative, you have to have the correct information out there from the source. And the source to me is our channel. But we're not getting information out there. For an example, the town hall meeting, I understand, is on the utility bills, but because we weren't out on Facebook promoting it, we were having private residents promoting it, and then an agenda got created online which had, it won't be live streamed, it'll be YouTubed afterwards, so people stayed at home, and then we're asking about YouTube stream afterwards, because we're not controlling the narrative of getting information. Now, I've obviously voiced my concerns with communication and promotion at this table before, and I'm sure there's not going to be anything in the suggested budget for communication. So I guess my question to Mayor McGonigal is, are you happy with the level of communication coming out of staff at the moment? And what do you think can be done to improve it?
I think that's for all of us to discuss and decide and move forward. If you feel that that is an avenue that we are lacking in, then it's for us to remedy that. So personally, I hope that we can improve our communications. Every aspect of how we do business should be at this table. And we are reactive instead of proactive at times. And I am one that is guilty of that, as all of us are, trying to accommodate the right information. And it's not just our entity that is struggling with communication. You look at larger corporations, Couch Valley District, for instance, where the communications department still struggles with getting the correct information out. Watch the meeting process tomorrow when Couch Valley Regional District convenes again for budget discussions, and the misinformation that will be provided during public input is intense. So I think we have lots of room for improvement, but that's for this table to discuss. Me personally, I try to do my part and encourage where we can to get the information out there. But I think by having a communication policy and a budget for that is the avenue that we need to look at. That will come forward in our budget.
I was just gonna say that we had, directed, if that's the word, staff about Public Works having their own Facebook page so that they can implement whatever they need, message they need out there, whether it's storm, like water flushing, lines, different things like that, right? I think I watch other municipalities on my Facebook page and they all put those messages out there. So if water's going to be shut off for a reason, say at McDonald Road, they actually put it on the town Ladysmith's Facebook page. And it's just so people, they can go to it. And if there's a message, that's great. If there's not, then there's nothing going on. But we do need to be more proactive in our communication. And it can't be just the 5 of us on our personal pages. I don't believe that's where it belongs. We can share stuff, but I'm not putting messages, unless it's from the town or from the mayor, that is like a sanctioned message. So,
Yeah, we want to have the same message, everybody on the same.
and again, I think this is discussion about a communication person is let's have that a budget. We need to have it a budget.
Can we do better?
Absolutely.
Yes. Should we do better?
Yes.
Yes.
Will we do better? Yes.
Will it ever be perfect? No. It won't. It won't be perfect, because there's people that will not like what we say or not agree with it. I think we have to try harder and we have advertise more. And I know we put stuff on our Facebook pages just to remind people. I don't have a lot of followers, but some other people do. So that's for budget discussions. Okay, I'm lost now. Notices of motion, you had something, Mayor McGonagle?
I did, I just want to bring forward a discussion on how we can implement possible, attainable, affordable housing within our subdivision approvals in lieu of, park, for instance, how we can accommodate that, whether it's possible legislatively, legally. And just to have that discussion at a future.
I may, it's probably not the place for that, it's probably the OCP and the zoning bylaw. I mean, we'll come back with it.
In the appropriate entity.
On the NDC.
And I know we're in the middle of our OCP update, but there's nothing to amend that, it's a living document, and I'm sure the ABC wouldn't mind us providing more direction to them anyway.
That's what they want.
But I think there's a possibility for, especially with the legislative changes, and I won't elaborate too much, but from the province down on how we are not meeting our housing needs assessments, but I think there's gaps within all levels of government on how we're not meeting this. But
Okay, thank you. Now we come to question period, limited to items on the agenda. Does anyone in the audience have a question on, oh no, I'm just kidding. He's straight up, Mr. Garrett.
Bill Garrett, 220 Lake Park Road, once more on the clack. First off, bouncing off of Mr. Smith's remark that basically the clack is self-funded. Also bouncing off Councillor Frisbee's remarks about communication. First off, within the budget that's presented, there is the comment that monthly reports are provided to the committee of the whole. And going through the financial reporting provided, there is a separate section outlining the CLEC income and expense. And when I refer to that, I'm seeing a $33,000 shortfall. That would be even greater by $35,000 if it wasn't for wage recovery. What I am asking for within a budget plan is a very clear and separate financial budget with part of that plan outlining what the anticipated income is, what the anticipated expenses are, if there's a shortfall, outlining how it's going to be covered off. An actual financial plan. That's what I'm asking.
Can I address that?
Pardon, yes, but I better say first, I didn't get a chance for any offsite, the phone number, any calls from offsite. The phone number is 250-749-3239, if anyone wants to phone in on anything on the agenda. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I can understand Bill Garrett's comments. For example, well, as of today, I submitted an invoice that had not been processed and put into our system yet for $32,000. So it's hard to keep up to that real time. I'm submitting an annual thing, and of course, during the winter months, it's no different than any other business. You're going to have some costs, and you're not going to have the revenue that you normally have. In fact, we're fortunate enough to have some off-season things that are happening right now, and it's really quite good. But it's hard to do the real-time reporting. So there would be no point in doing what you're suggesting, I don't think, because the projections are annual, and we come close to our projections every year.
Anything, nothing you want to know? No? No phone calls? And people don't email anymore, do they? Okay? Anyone else from the audience have a comment? Okay, we have no in camera, so we just need a motion to adjourn. Councillor Bomaca, Councillor Sandu, all in favor? Thank you. Lots of good wholesome discussion. Yeah.